Hey, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. So today I want to talk about how when you're quoting for clients, it's your job to show them what the future looks like. All right, so today I'm coming to you from Goring, which is a beautiful town halfway between Oxford and Reading. Every 2 weeks I have a business mentoring group here that I meet with. So and after the meeting, I always think I have to stop here by the river because it's just some beautiful scenery. This is I talked about this before. George Michael, his house was just a few short blocks from here when he passed away, and it's just a beautiful place. So anyway, enough about that. So today I want to talk about a bit more about client acquisition, because a lot of people have been asking me in the comments, can you talk about how to get clients? I'm a developer and I want to get clients. And the thing is, it's such a broad topic. Like, there's so much we could cover in terms of how do you find the right prospects, how do you reach out to them, how do you get them to find you, all that kind of stuff. But today I want to talk a little bit more about the quote. See, I've mentioned this before about how when we do a quote, we always have at the end we have like a mock-up, and I'm not just talking about like wireframes. I'm talking about like an artist mock-up. Like, our designer will actually do something that we could show them what the app is going to look like, right? We can't actually build the app and show them what the app is before we actually get them to agree to it, obviously, but we will try to get them to picture it in their mind as early as possible, to show that we know what we're doing and to sell them on the dream early on. And one of the reasons I do this has to do with some of the part-time jobs I had back in my 20s, right? So a lot of you guys know that I was in the Army out of high school. So rather than go to university straight out of high school, I joined the Army. I went to school and learned Chinese, and I was in the Army for 4 years. And when it came time to get out, I was really on the fence about whether or not I wanted to get out of the Army or stay in, right? Unlike a lot of the people who had the same ETS date as me, or the same date to leave, right? I had no idea. Some people were like, they were lifers. They were like, I'm gonna rise up the ranks, I'm gonna be a proper soldier. And other people were like, as soon as my 4 years is up, I'm getting out, right? But for me, I was on the fence. I even went to leadership school in my last year because I still wasn't sure, and I got my sergeant stripes and everything like that. So when it finally came time to make that decision, I decided I'm definitely gonna stay in. And then between making that decision and walking to the phone, I called up the recruiter to re-enlist, and I said, yeah, I'm going to get out, right? So I had no plans. I had no idea what to do. I just knew I'll try something different, right? But then once I said that, everybody was asking me for my plans for life. They were saying like, so what are you going to do? You're just going to live off your wife? Because I was married at the time, right? Are you just going to live off your wife? You're just going to get her to work for you? You're just going to go to school? I said, I guess I'm going to go to university. I haven't really thought through the whole thing, right? And everybody had all these questions because they were all staying in, and it made me feel demasculated in a way. So I had this big chip on my shoulder when I got out. So when I got out of the Army, I was working 3 part-time jobs and going to school full-time to university. And when I say university, it was community college. It was Leeward Community College in Hawaii. But I had 3 jobs. So the first one was I was a stock, like a shelf filler at Sears. So I'd work every morning at Sears from 6 to 10 a.m. In the evenings, I would work at this photo place in Waikiki Beach where I was called a runner, where I would go. The photographers would take pictures of people at their tables, and they would sell the photos back to them. So I would take the film canisters, run them back to the lab, they would get developed, and then I would take the pictures back to the photographers so they could sell them at the end of the meal. So, and the third one was a photo mugs place. So I don't know if you guys remember this, but and they might still have these, where they would take a picture of you, like say like with Indiana Jones's body or the Hulk or whatever, and they try to blend it in. It's so easy to do now with Photoshop, but back then it was kind of like a novelty. And then you would try to sell them the mugs or the t-shirts and things like that. So it was like a stall in a market. So and I did that one on weekends. So this was the 3 different jobs that I had, right? And I was just, I don't know why. I was just because I had this chip on my shoulder. I didn't want anyone to say that I wasn't working enough. But 2 of those jobs taught me a lot about why people buy. See, the first one was the Waikiki Beach one. So basically what would happen was there'd be photographers, and the photographers were such real prima donnas, right? They just, I was a runner, so I would pick up the film canisters, take it back to the lab, and they were just, they looked down their noses at me or whatever. But So what they would do is they would go up to each couple at every table at these fancy restaurants like Benihana's or whatever. People, they're out having a holiday and they're just having a good time. So they'll take their pictures like they're movie stars. They don't ask, can I take your picture? They just take their picture, right? And then I would take the film back to the lab. And then when it was developed, so I was going multiple labs. So drop this one up, pick up the film for another one, take it, whatever. So I take back the photos, and then they would take it back to the people before the end of their meal. So it had to be fast, right? So the runner had to be really fast. I mean, almost literally running. You take it back, and it would show the pictures to the people saying, look at this nice picture of you. Would you like to buy it for $10, right? And a lot of times they would say yes, and a lot of times they say no, so you had to throw it away. But it always used to strike me that if you had asked them before they sat down to eat whether or not you could take their picture and sell them a picture and sell it to them for $10, they would have said no, right? But when you show them what it actually is, if you could actually produce it and say, hey, would you like to buy this, right? It's a picture of themselves, and they couldn't say no to something where they look really good in, right? So that was how the whole business ran. It was all about you build it, you show it to them, and then they buy it. Because it's of them, they can see it. The other thing was a photo mug place, right? It was the same kind of concept, right? I wouldn't ask people, hey, would you like to put your face on Indiana Jones's body and then have it put onto a mug and I'll sell you the mug? Everybody would have said no. So we always said, would you like to try it out? Would you like a free sample? And I would sit people down in the chair and I would put the camera on them and I would take a picture of them and I'd try to blend in the colors of their face with the body of Indiana Jones or the Hulk or whoever it was. There was all these cutouts of people. Power Rangers at the time was a big thing because they were talking about like 1994, right? And then afterwards they would look at it, and at that point I would say, would you like to buy a mug? Would you like to buy a keychain? Would you like to buy a t-shirt, right? And that's what got them in, right? If you'd asked them before, would you like to buy a mug with your picture on it? They would say no, but you say, hey, would you like to try this for free? Then they would say yes. This is the mentality we have when we quote, right? We can't just say beforehand, hey, we could build you this app and it's going to cost you all this money. No, we have to say, hey, we could build you an app. Would you like to discuss it? Would you like to have a try, right? And then when we actually go through the requirements, I mean, we'll give a ballpark just so that we're not wasting people's time. But at the end, we show them, this is what your app can look like. This is, walk through the steps. So you click on here, you do that, and you're trying to sell them on the future. You're trying to get them to picture in their mind. So what they're buying is totally customized to them, right? And this is how we do everything, right? You cannot pitch the product beforehand before you actually show them something, right? And this has worked very well for us. And those lessons are what I learned from those part-time jobs I had as a kid, right? If you go through and say, hey, can I take your picture and sell it to you? You'll say no. But if you took their picture, and I know there's a lot of GDPR things and stuff now, but if you took their picture and then later on you showed them a beautiful picture of themselves and they look fantastic, how could they say no? If you were quoting for an app and you showed them an app that looked fantastic and they could see in their mind, hey, you know what? My employees are going to love this. My clients are going to love this. I love this. There's my logo. I can see it all in my mind. Then how could they say no? Anyway, those are just my thoughts for today. I may have talked about this before in the past, but it's really, really important. It's one of the things that we do that I think we probably, when we give a quote, we probably get a yes about 60% of the time, right? But that's how well it works. If we could walk them through the steps beforehand, and this is also one of the reasons why we have a full-time designer on staff, because we have to turn those things around, constantly. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. I mean, is that the kind of thing you do if you do quote for clients? Is this helpful at all? Anyway, that is it for today. I will talk to you guys again tomorrow.